The restaurant where Taehyung and Jungkook dined together started talking about them again. On their social media accounts, they thanked Taehyung for his visit and mentioned that if they return, they'll prepare a much quieter space for them to enjoy without so many people around. What happened was that night, several people who were there recognized them. Some tried to approach them, talk to them, and greet them, which ultimately made Taehyung and Jungkook decide to leave a little earlier than planned. Therefore, the restaurant clarified that next time they will be more careful with their privacy, ensuring they have a space reserved just for them. This isn't just a polite comment, it's actually clear confirmation that the two went together and that the owners of the place want them to feel comfortable. Additionally, a post by chef Shalala_SSO was shared, which the restaurant itself shared on its stories. This detail serves as further proof for those who still had doubts. For a long time, some followers said it wasn't them. But with these confirmations, there's no longer much room for doubt. Taehyung was there, having dinner together, enjoying their time naturally. And this is where a difference many don't want to see becomes noticeable. When Taehyung and Jungkook go out, they do so alone, without cameras, without staff around, without all the noise that usually accompanies artists. Their relationship in those moments is like that of any couple who just wants to spend some quiet time, ordering food, chatting, laughing a little, and enjoying each other's company. On the other hand, when Jungkook appears with the favorite of many, there are always cameras, staff members, and an atmosphere that seems overly organized. That's why so many people see it as something planned for the public, fan service meant to entertain, but not an authentic moment. That's the big difference. Taehyung's is private and sincere, the other, a setup where everything is recorded and monitored. That night at the restaurant reflects that difference well. Taehyung and Jungkook decided to go out to dinner together, without worrying about showing anything to the public. They weren't looking to attract attention or put on a show. It was just the two of them, sharing real time, as they do on many other occasions when no one else sees them. And although they had to leave early because people recognized them, the important thing is that even in those circumstances they continue to choose to be together, strengthening their bond in everyday life. The restaurant itself, by speaking about them with such naturalness and affection, makes it clear that there's nothing to hide. They're not afraid to say they were there because it's normal, a couple going out to dinner, grateful for the place, and a place grateful for them. It's not about proving anything to the outside world, but about continuing to build something of their own, silently and discreetly. And that's precisely the difference. Their relationship doesn't need cameras or stages, because what they feel is evident in the small details, like a dinner together in any restaurant. In his latest livestream, Taehyung surprised everyone by recommending several songs he's been liking lately. Among them was Double Take by Dhruv Sharma. And while for many it was just a music recommendation, the truth is that this choice says much more than it seems at first glance. Dhruv Sharma, better known as Dhruv, is a British Indian singer who openly identifies as gay. He wrote Double Take based on his own experiences as a young queer person, with the idea of reflecting on what it means to fall in love with someone as a teenager. The song went viral in 2021 thanks to TikTok, where millions of users used it in videos related to coming out in moments of self-acceptance. Since then, it has become a kind of anthem for the LGBTQ+ community. So, Taehyung's mentioning it is no small detail. He could have recommended any other song, but he chose one that has a strong meaning for many people. In this way, he once again showed his support for the LGBTQ+ community, something that's not new to him. He's always had a very free and sincere personality, and Jungkook is no exception. They both share that way of expressing themselves fearlessly, without needing to hide what they feel or think. What's interesting is that this recommendation didn't end there. Dhruv, the singer himself, reacted on his social media. He posted a story in which he wrote Taehyung, along with a red heart emoji, and also started following him. This gesture shows how much he valued the recommendation. It's unusual for an artist with Taehyung's influence to highlight a queer song, and in doing so, the impact reaches millions of people around the world. Of course, for Taehyung's followers, all of this didn't go unnoticed. Every detail counts, and when Taehyung and Jungkook share things like this, the message feels even stronger. In recent months, they've been seen closer, more open, and without the effort to hide that previously seemed more evident. Their relationship is shown naturally, moments together, recommendations, simple gestures that, when combined, make clear what many already sense. This is where the difference with what others try to interpret, as in the case of jungkook, is marked. What Taehyung and Jungkook do isn't staged or filled with cameras. They are simple things that reflect real closeness. A dinner together, a music recommendation, a shared gesture, nothing that seems planned, but rather part of their everyday life. And little by little, Taehyung's every action adds to the confirmation many are hoping for. There's no need for a direct statement because the facts speak for themselves. From their more relaxed publicity to the way they share details that previously seemed reserved, everything points in the same direction: an authentic relationship, one that doesn't need exaggerated displays to be noticeable. What happened in this live show with Taehyung wasn't just a musical moment. It was further proof that both he and Jungkook are at a stage where openness and naturalness outweigh any attempt at hiding. Meanwhile, fans see how each of these gestures builds a story that becomes increasingly difficult to deny. One of the most striking things about Taehyung and Jungkook's relationship is the way they repeat certain gestures when they're together. These aren't simple coincidences or random actions, they're patterns that appear constantly and, when observed closely, reveal a lot about the way they relate to each other. These gestures emerge naturally, as if they were part of their personal language, one that only they fully understand. When someone acts the same way again and again with someone, it's because they do so without much thought. In Taehyung's case, these couple gestures are very evident, touching each other without fear, settling in next to each other, or searching for each other with their eyes even when there's a lot going on around them. The interesting thing is that they never seem uncomfortable or forced. On the contrary, they give the impression that they feel more secure when they're close, as if it were a space where they don't need to explain themselves to anyone. This naturalness contrasts with what happens in other situations. For example, when Jungkook appears with a favorite, they are almost always surrounded by cameras, staff, and a highly prepared atmosphere. This leads many to perceive it as a setup, a type of fan service designed to entertain the public. There's none of the spontaneity that appears with Taehyung. That's why so many fans point out that Taehyung's is private and sincere, while the other seems more like a calculated spectacle, where nothing is left to chance. A clear example of this difference occurred the night Taehyung and Jungkook decided to go out to dinner together. They weren't surrounded by cameras, nor were they looking to show anything off in front of the public. They simply wanted to enjoy a meal in each other's company. That moment encapsulates what characterizes their relationship: authenticity and everydayness. Even though some people recognized them and tried to approach them, they tried to maintain their space and the tranquility of their date. The restaurant even commented afterward that if they return, they'll be given a more private spot, reinforcing the idea that this wasn't a staged encounter, but rather an intimate couple's plan. Beyond the outings, what really stands out are the small gestures they share. In many videos and presentations, you can see how they react to each other almost automatically. Their bodies seem to have a kind of synchronicity. If one moves, the other follows. If one touches, the other responds. If one looks, the other returns the gaze. This coordination isn't something that can be easily faked, because it arises from habit and trust. The most striking thing is that these gestures don't disappear when there are cameras or when they're surrounded by other people. They do them anyway, without worrying too much about who's watching them. This reinforces the idea that these actions aren't meant for the public, but rather part of their way of being together. In some way, they seem to create their own world, a shared space where they don't need to talk much to understand each other. With Taekook, we see something that transcends the superficial. It's not just nice words or staged scenes, but real interactions that speak of trust and complicity. The repetition of these gestures over time confirms that they're not coincidences. This is what happens when two people connect and act naturally around each other. In comparison, what happens in Jungkook's interactions with Favorite is very different. There, every movement seems under the control of cameras and crew, as if part of a script. This difference is what makes many not see it as authentic, but rather as a product for fans. And it's precisely this separation between what is fan service and what is real that allows us to better understand Taekook's dynamic.